So, hello, I'm Ben Smith with the Love and Goliath podcast, and I'm so excited to talk to the winner of the Ultimate Guide Challenge, Men's Health Ultimate Guide Challenge, Corwyn Collier. How are you, man?
I'm good. How you doing this morning?
Good, good. I was so excited to talk. Like I said, like I told you, I was listening to some interviews by you, and I was telling my wife. So we're huge Seahawks fans right now, right?
Right.
And I like we're all Geno Smith, right? And we're just like, oh, Geno. And I'm like, oh, dude, I don't know, Geno Collier now. Like, I'm just like, I got a mad crush on both these guys now. She's like, nah, Geno. I'm like, well, you gotta listen to Collier. So I'll convince her. She's gonna love you as much as I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So what do you tell people a little bit about who you are? I mean, aside from being the ultimate guy of 2023.
Well, let's see. I'm a former military police for the U.S. Army. Served for a couple of years before I got deployed to Iraq, and so eventually, what happens is, I ended up going to Iraq in 2000 and being injured, and in the process of me being injured and almost losing my life, I ended up spending like 9 months in the hospital, and lost my fingers on my right hand, lost most of my right leg, and so I had to go through a process of just not only physical recovery but mental health recovery and things of that nature. And so upon leaving the hospital, I actually went back to school at the University of Akron in Ohio and got my master's degree in education and became a teacher. And I've been teaching for almost the last 10 years now. I've been a track coach also because I used to run track when I was in college. And I've always had a passion for the sport. So I've been a track coach for probably, I would say at least 14, 15 years now. And so basically, and then, I got into what's called men's physique in the bodybuilding world. And I started competing in that back in 2014 and earned my pro card in 2016 and became an IFBB pro. And so I just been kind of dabbling in just different things and just creating this life outside of what um, the hospital told me that I would have, and saying that I would only be limited to certain things and limited only to a certain lifestyle in certain areas. And so I've just kind of been crushing and doing everything they told me I couldn't do. And so
Nice.
that's it.
Well, on that note, you have a book called Count It Out. So that's basically, as I heard you say before, that it's a pretty short book, but it's very concise, and it's really about like, being taking life as it is and just being limitless. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I wrote a book back in 2020 during COVID because we pretty much all had nothing but time on our hands. So So I wrote a book, and then I finished. Once I finished it, it went through the editing process and everything that it had to go through in order to be published and things of that nature. And so it came out last October of 2021. I released it towards the end of that month. And I named it Count It Out because that's how I felt during the entire process of me being in the hospital, me going through therapy and things like that. I felt like I was being counted out as far as the type of life that I was allowed to experience and have. And so that was a big thing for me to be able to write that and kind of put out my story. And but I also did it because I wanted people to see from a soldier's perspective. I think we see war films and we see things of that nature, like from like we've seen Lone Survivor, we've seen American Sniper, we've
Rambo.
seen we've seen movies where they're based off these guys who go through these heroic events and accomplish these great things, which is awesome. But I wanted to write a book that kind of went through and seen what it was like for us to recover and
Mm,
how us to kind of get over some barriers, especially the mental barriers of dealing with PTSD, trying to reintegrate into society, trying to reintegrate with your family. So that's what my book was made for. And it was about trying to find a path and creating a new life because you will never be the same. And I think we said that like, and once again, like with COVID, we said things will never be the same. I think it's the same thing when we talk about coming back home from war. Things will never be the same because what you've experienced and things like that. And then if you've been injured, it definitely will never be the same. So like I said, I wrote it and I made, and it wasn't to be this long, drawn out book. And like I said, I wanted it to be precise. I wanted to be have just hit on what was important for people to take away. I didn't want you to have to read it and have to really think about, like, because you went through so much muddle of just different things. I wanted you to be able to take away the, as soon as you were finished with it, the idea of what it's like to have to deal with sometimes with emotional and mental trauma, and how you can overcome that if you really if you focus on a goal and you surround yourself with good people.
Yeah, you know, just on that note, because I want to go back a little bit so people just I know you're probably sick of talking about it, but what would you say before we go back to the accident, this and that? What would you say is that number one thing that people can grasp to kind of move forward from trauma or whatever?
I think the number one thing people can grasp it for, to move on from trauma, is that no matter what, you can always get better. That, it's always seems dark, and it always will seem dark, but there's always light in that situation, and you have to just focus on that light. And I know the light may sometimes be very small, and you may not be able to always be 100%, you know dedicated to it, but as long as you can focus on that light, it gets better. And I think that's what I want people to understand, that, like, I had my dark days, I had my suicide days, I had those depression days. So but I stayed committed on to the light of what I knew would be at the end of the tunnel.
Nice. I always say, I mean, my business is all about, I say the Goliath Foundation exists to inspire hope because healing only happens in the presence of hope. So, I mean, that's basically what you're saying. You got to have that spark of hope. Yes,
Yeah. You definitely gotta have hope at the end of the day, because without hope you have nothing.
it's true. So I know you're probably sick of talking it because everybody wants to hear your story now, but could you give people a quick little rundown about the accident and you were in the military police and yeah, just take it from there. To say as much as you want to.
So basically, we were on a convoy. We were in a convoy. We were on our way. We had just got done with our mission for the day, and so we are
In Iraq, right?
in Iraq. Yes, we had got done with our mission for the day, and so as we were going back to base, basically, my truck was hit by a roadside bomb, and so the bomb detonated on my side of the truck because I was sitting in the passenger seat, and so when the bomb detonated and hit, like, the initial blast, like, I had no idea any had happened to me, or whatsoever. It wasn't until I actually looked over to the right hand side of me and realized that there was blood, like, everywhere. And then I realized that I was hit. And so, me being naturally left-handed, like, my left hand clearly, was on this side of me, and so my right hand was down by my door where the bomb detonated at. And so when I moved my right hand from the door, I realized it was completely, like, just hit, and it was mangled. And so I was pinned into my truck at that time because the bomb, when it hit, it smashed in my door and my dashboard, so it trapped my right leg too. So, in that process, I was sitting, like, I was stuck, so I had to wait for my squad to be able to come and get me and rescue me and get me out of the truck. And so while I was in there, though, I actually still was able to communicate and do my job as a leader. And I was actually still on my mic, calling back to base, calling back to try to get a helicopter to come save me. So I still, like, even though, like, all of this stuff was happening, I'm bleeding to death. I'm literally sitting on top of the bomb because it stops underneath my seat. It's burning through my legs and things like that, and I can't feel anything because my adrenaline is, like, on 1,000. So, and it severs my artery in my right leg. So that's pretty much how I almost lost my life, because I was losing so much blood from my artery. And so, um, my squad eventually was able to get me out of the truck and then put me onto another vehicle to get me to where the landing site of the helicopter was at. And so that's pretty much, once they did that, they got me there. They got me to another hospital, and a small hospital that we have out in Iraq. The doctors did what they needed to do, at that point in time. And then I ended up passing out because of the blood loss. And I woke up like, I want to say 2, 3 days later, I was in Germany. And I had no idea what had happened. I had no idea that I was even out that long. But I woke up, I was in Germany. And from there, that's when they ended up flying me back home to Washington, D.C., where I stayed at a hospital called Walter Reed. And that's where I spent the 9 months at.
Just recovering, like for the physical part of it, but I know the mental part of it was a lot, probably a lot harder.
Yeah, the middle part was I didn't, and I talk a lot about this in my book, Count It Out. Um, as far as I played it off the entire time. Like I always, like I did what most men do, and most men in the military do. I'm like, I'm okay, I'm fine, I don't need help. I got this, I'm straight. You know what I'm saying? And so they offered me help. I will say that Walter Reed did offer me help several times, and I would blow it off like I'm good, I got this. And it wasn't until I actually physically got back, you know what I'm saying, got back home, and then I realized more and more and more that I wasn't okay. And it was my wife who actually noticed it too, that I wasn't okay. And so it was because of her, um, I was able to kind of go into get help and get counseling and things like that, and kind of help recover the mental side and things like that. And so I actually ended up going and doing sessions and things like that to kind of like help um, bring me back to being myself, because I was so focused on the physical part. Like I was like, as long as I get back physically, I think I should be straight. But even though as I was getting back physically well and doing everything again, I still wasn't 100% where I needed to be mentally. And so, like I said, if it wasn't for my wife recognizing those signs, recognizing wasn't 100% okay, then I probably wouldn't have. I probably would have struggled a lot longer, and who knows what would have happened.
Hmm. So just to clarify, so you have a wife and three boys, right?
Yeah, I got a wife and yes, three sons altogether.
Yeah, yeah. So as you're doing the mental recovery, what was the thing that you kind of clipped onto that kind of like started? I mean, there's so many things that you could focus on, but what was the focus for you that really kind of started getting the ball rolling for your recovery, your mental recovery?
The focus for me was my family, was that I needed to be better for them, and that I had an opportunity like when I was in the truck, I asked God for two things. I was like, let me see my wife and let me see my kids grow up. It's like I don't care what happens to me physically, and I felt like I owed it to myself, and I owed it to God for giving me the opportunity to allow me to have those two things again. So it was important that I actually fulfilled that part of, I guess, the deal that
Mm,
I had prayed for. And so I realized that I needed to be better for them, because like my son, like anybody who knows me knows that my wife and my sons are my world. Everything revolves around them. I do everything I do is for them. Um, so I felt like that was my light, my little hope was
mm.
I would be better for them, and that I would be able to create um, a, a strong, everlasting family, and be a great husband and father. So once I started to realize that they were the most important things in my life, and that me not being here would probably hurt them more, that's when I started to really hone in and really start to work on um, myself and being better for myself.
So you grasp that, but what when you because I mean everybody has things that they want to that are important to them, but what do you do when you and this I'm just asking you directly, but what do you do when you're like, okay, my family means everything, and God did his part, I got to do my part, but I'm feeling blue, or I'm feeling like I can feel myself going down this hole or whatever. I mean, you're still gonna like. What was your thing that kept pulling you back beyond just your family and your promise to God? I mean, is it like I'm a survivor, I'm a winner, I'm like, what was it?
Um, I can't really say what kept me motivated that whole time. I think it was just this whole thing that I think it was the fact that I was like, I'm alive. it's like I really could be dead. Like the more and more I thought about it, like I'm like and I looked at the fact that um, what it took to save my life, as far as as far as the blood loss and them having to get 13 other people to donate blood to me on site,
Wow.
and all the other things that kind of went into. I always thought to myself, like, man, I really could have just been gone. And so I think that, like you said, I think to me, just the fact of me always saying to myself, like, I survived. And I think, you know what I'm saying, I that's what made me kind of keep going too, outside of my family. Like, I just think like, and I still think that to my dad sometimes. Like I was like, man, really could have. The more I think about it, but and so I think that's, even today, it's still one of those things that I kind of push my, like, when I'm feel like, do I really want to go work out today? Do I really want to go do this or do that or anything? I'm like, man, like, the life I've lived for the last going on 14 years has been nothing short of amazing to me, as far as the things that I've been able to accomplish overall. So I think
Nice.
that mentality still stays in my head, like that. These 14 years probably wouldn't have never happened had I just, what I'm saying, not been strong in my faith and just kept going the way I did.
So if I had to put a word on there, would it be kind of accurate to say just a real appreciation for life?
Yeah, I definitely, like, I tell people all the time, like, life is a beautiful thing. Like, no matter how messed up it can be, no matter the ups and downs, man, there's way more ups than there is downs. Really focus. If you only focus on the down part, yeah, it sucks. But if you just look at all the beautiful moments that life creates and that you have, it, like, and it's short. Like, to me, it's a short time frame, and you only got so much time in here. And when you start focusing on your negative, then that time is gonna shoot past you real quick. Like, me being a teacher, I tell my students all the time, like, I'm like, dude, it don't even feel like, because I teach at the same high school I graduated from. So I'm like, dude, it don't even feel like I've been out of here for 23 years. I'm like, I graduated 23 years ago, and it still feels like I can recall so many different things of just being in this high school, being around here, living in this neighborhood and things of that nature. So I'm like, life it goes past so fast, and if you don't appreciate it while you're here, like, you lose out.
It's true. It's true. So so going back to the high school and everything. So you were a track star, and that was your real passion before going to the army, correct? And you were
Yeah,
also, yeah, you were a real star too, right?
um I was really big into track. Like, I love track. Like, it was my passion. It was like I had dreams, I had hopes, and things of that nature. I really wanted to go to the next level. I think injuries and things like that prevented me, and some other things, like, as far as different coaching and things of that nature, that I kind of like didn't get, and that I really needed to, in order to excel to the next level. But I had that passion, but and then I ended up becoming a father, having my kids, and so I kind of
Mm.
put things back burner, as far as making sure that my priorities was my sons first. But when I was, like I told people, when I was in Iraq, I actually literally was training to come back from Iraq to try to
Mm.
make a run at the U.S. championships, and then hopefully, like, build a career from there, as far
Nice.
and trying to, I wanted to see if I can at least make one last shot in, like, the 2012 Olympics. So I figured I could get back home around 2010, hopefully make the U.S. championships in 2010 and 11, and then hopefully set myself up for 2012. Because I literally was in Iraq. I would run, I would work out. I literally kept training hard, because I knew once I got back home, I really wanted to go for this. And so when that, I guess, I got that curveball tossed at me, and so life kind of changed, and I didn't. So, but now I get to coach. I've been coaching, like I said, for like almost 14, 15 years. I love that aspect of it, because now I get to, coach the sport that I love, and I also get to help kids, um, who are passionate about the sport like I am, to try to get to the next level.
Nice. So I just got to say, again, I listened to one of your interviews, and you were saying 800 meter. You tried the 800 meter, or you were going to do the 800 meter, and it was a nightmare. I was an 800 guy. I couldn't sprint. I was like, but you're a 100-meter guy and a hurdle guy. Like, I'm good to tell you, I ran track when I was younger. Man, I tried the 100-meter. The hurdles, watching me go over the hurdles was like so laughable. So, so I laughed when I heard that part of your interview. But
Yeah,
you're a real hurdler, eh?
yeah. My coach, my middle school coach, who actually ended up becoming my high school coach, and who's still a friend of mine to this day. He didn't like. He knew I was fast, but he was just kind of like he didn't think I was like that fast compared to like some of the other guys on the team. Even though I could beat most of the guys on the team.
Hmm.
So he had put me in the 800. Dude, I'm not running. I'm not running a half mile. I'm not about to around this track 2 times. And so I literally fell into the hurdles on accident. Like it just so happened nobody was running it, the event. And I asked him, like, can I go run this? And he was like, sure. It was like I had never ever ran over a hurdle, knew nothing about the event whatsoever. And it just so happened that I knew for some reason my body just knew what to do automatically, just running over the hurdles, and I won. And I won, and like I won the 110 hurdles, and in middle school it was a 200 hurdle. So I won both of those events, and he was just like, "I guess you're a hurdler." And so then he started teaching me like actual technique and things of that nature. And so me and my older brother both just started running them out of nowhere, and that's how we just me and him both became hurdlers,
Hmm.
and we just kind of took off with it.
Nice.
So
Well, I had some issues with injuries and things like that that kind of derailed some of my play. I was a boxer and a bodybuilder, but which I know you're also a bodybuilder too, which I'd love to talk to you about. But what do you do? What is your opinion? What do you do when you have a dream like track or whatever it is, an athletic dream that because of injuries or whatever, it you know it doesn't materialize because of something that's kind of maybe beyond your control. How do you find peace with that?
I just looked at all the stuff that I accomplished, and I realized that I had a very successful, I guess you can call it amateur career, as far as just I looked at my high school stats. I looked at my college things that I did, and I felt like I accomplished enough to where I'm happy, and
Mm,
so I'm good. Like I feel like I'm good with everything I did. Like I just feel like you know most people who compete don't even get to the level that some of us get to. And
mhm.
so I'm cool. Mentally, I feel like I accomplished way more than than what, like I said, than what most people do. Most people, you know what I'm saying, you got kids who run track in high school but never make it to the state meet. I made it to the state meet and placed at the state meet. You got people who run in college and never make it to nationals. I actually placed at nationals, conference champion, and I got accolades and things.
Yeah.
So I feel like, what I'm saying, once I look at my resume of what I've done, I'm content. Like granted, yes, it would have been great to say, ooh, USA championship and Olympic qualifier. But at the end of the day, that's still only a very small percentage of the world anyway that
Mhm.
actually that level. So like I said, you got to be happy with what you've done and kind of realize, look at your overall body of work and not just that one end part.
That's kind of the way I look at it too. Which brings me to a funny point. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the men's health thing. So it must be a trip. I want to talk to you about being on the magazine, cover of the magazine and everything, but obviously, I made it pretty far too. And I got the it was a joke, it was kind of a funny thing to me. My daughter entered me, right? And I thought, and then it got, how it gets whittled down, right? And then
Right,
I got the call from or I got the email from Stephanie,
right.
and she's like, "Okay, well, the next thing is our editorial team will contact you." And I'm like, "I'm going to New York. I'm going to New York. I'm going to New York." And I was like, I had all these plans. I'm like, "What am I going to see in New York?" And all this stuff. 'Cause I thought I'd made the top three, and I was like,
Right.
"Oh man!" And then when it went on and on and on, a couple of days went on, I was like so blue for a minute. I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not going to New York." And then all that kind of stuff happened. But I was like, "Dude." dude, look how far you made it. And then I had to give my house up. I had a shake. It's like
Right.
so,
So I get it. Yeah. I was in the same boat, like with when when everything started transpiring and started happening. Like I did it back in like I want to say it was 2017. I want to say 18, 17. I had entered the contest back then, and just like you, I was in. I had literally like I was like, oh man, I'm about to, and then I was only in like the top 10 or something like that.
uh, the
So
same contest, the same men's
yeah,
health one. Oh, okay.
did
So you
it.
can re-enter it, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
So what happened was when this one came up, I literally seen it on Instagram. Like I was scrolling on my Instagram, and I kind of just like, I was like, well, last time I really only was 10th. I was like, so I was like, I ain't gonna worry about it. I'm not gonna do it. Then once again I seen it on my news feed again. I was like, all right, so maybe I was like, okay, this is my second time seeing it. I was like, let me just go ahead and do it. And so I literally just like I went through and answered the question, but I didn't expect nothing from it. I didn't like same like you. I didn't think nothing of it. I just kind of said it is what it is. I'll see what happens. And so then when we got the email, I think it had to be August. It was definitely in August because I it was the first day of school when I got it. And it was the first day the teachers had to report back to school. So I remember definitely getting it and I opened it and we had those questions we had to answer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they asked us to answer some questions or, make a video answer the question. So I did the video, of course, because I was like, I'm not
I
sitting there.
I did
Type.
too.
And so I literally replied back to them within, I would say 15 minutes of getting the email. And and they was like, this is the fastest reply we ever had. And it was funny because, like I said, I like because I had nothing. I was literally just setting up my classroom at the time, so I was like, "Oh, I got time right now, real quick to do this." And so then it kind of like once again, like you said, it just kind of dies down, and nothing was said. So I was just like, "All right, whatever." Like I answered the questions, I'll see what happens. And so that's when I got the like around September. I want to say yeah, September-ish. They had sent me an email and it was like, "Can you talk?" and on the phone, blah blah blah. And that's when they told me I was one of the three finalists and I was going to come out to New York to do the photo shoot and things of that nature. So that's when I was excited because I was in the top three, and to me that was the epitome. Like I'm like I don't like if I won the cover, great, but I was like I'm in the top three. I'm going to be like I was like I'm gonna be featured in this magazine regardless. Big with an article and things like that. My pictures will be there. Cool. And so once we got to New York, the 2 days, we were like 2.5 days that we were there, meeting Brad and Felipe, and getting to hang out with them, talk with the editors and things like that, being down to Hearst Building. It was all, it was great. Like I will say to people who thought like you guys see the photos and they're like a photo shoot is not as fun as it looks. It's it's a lot of just do that again, do this again, take it again. That ain't your arm runs in the way. You had your eyes closed. You did this, like do it again, do it again. So it was a lot. Like it's a lot. But it was like I said, but it was fun because the photographer, and I can't think of his name, he made it fun though. He definitely was an energized guy and I had a blast with that. And so once again, all that happens. I go back home, it goes dark again. So it's like I said, I'm like, I know they said. So then they did say, I think they sent the email to us. And it was like, oh, we changed it to January because it was supposed to be December, but it
That's
was like
right.
we got an opportunity with it was a rock. It was a rock. It was like for the December cover. It was like they didn't. It was like we got this big opportunity. He actually had time in his schedule to to do the cover for the December issue. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's a rock. I get it. Not on that level. So,
You should have said, "What? You gonna push me off for the Rock? Come on now."
so they was like they'll announce the winner, later. So I'm like, cool. And so then I get an email. They're asking me, "Hey, we talked to the Today Show. The Today Show really likes your story, and they want you to come out and talk about your experience with the Ultimate Guide Challenge and Search and so on and so forth." So I was like, "Cool." I'm like, I was like, "Well, I got to give me some dates and things like that. Let me look, because I'm a teacher, so I can't just up and just saying always leave." And we were testing too at that time, so I was like, "Let me figure out what's going on with the testing schedule with my students, and then I can make a decision from there." And so I was like, boom. They was like, "All right, these are the dates." I was like, "All right, cool. I'll be there." So I get there, and still they had no one, like nobody's telling me anything. Like, and so I'm like, "Where the other two guys?" It was like, "Oh no, it was just you." You know what I'm saying? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "All right, cool." So I'm thinking, like, I thought they were gonna be there too at first because I'm like, it's a top three, that whatever. And so when I go on to today's show, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking literally they're just going to ask me about my life and experience and what it was like to be in the contest, so on and so forth. And then that's when they were like, boom, you won. And it just caught me off guard. And I was just like, I mean, I was excited, like, because like I said, for me, all I cared about was like, if I was in the top three, I was happy. But to see myself on the cover and to see so many different people that I know from college, the military, just my professional life, just so many people like getting the magazine, telling me they got it or they seen the magazine, and so on and so forth. It's I would say January has been a crazy going 2 weeks now so far. Like, I mean, although it happened like almost a month ago in December, but everybody now really seeing it on shelves and things like that. It's been a crazy like 2 weeks now.
Wow, that's awesome. I heard the story you told about being at the gas station. You're like, "Hey, look at the cover." That was
Yeah.
awesome.
So yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, I personally have not been able to find it in stores. Nowhere. Nowhere. I've
Well,
been
hey,
to stores in Northeast Ohio trying to find the magazine and I can't find it. And it's that to me, that's a crazy part about it. And I've had people contact me like, "Man, where can I get it?" So many people have been ordering it off of Amazon. The majority of the people who've actually been getting it have been my friends who are like, and I guess I got a lot of friends who go to the airport on a regular because a lot of them just been like in airports, like they have literally been in like every airport I think all through the United States, and I've had friends from Florida, Texas, Detroit, New York. One friend out in Cali. Like I've had friends all over the place in airports. Like I got your magazine. Where I said I got it. I got like, and that's been the crazy part about it. So, or they just like some of them like they got subscriptions to Men Health, and so they're getting it that way. Like I said, or other people have, like I said, they've gone to Amazon and gotten it, but it's definitely been, I guess, print media is not as big as it probably was 20 years ago. Um, so it's been hard, like I said, for me to just even find it myself.
well, it's funny because I got mine. I was in Mexico, and when I realized I did the same thing, I was like, "Isn't this supposed to be out?" So I emailed, and he was like, "Oh, it's coming out the 22nd." And then we were in Mexico, and so when we came back, I got it from the same thing, the airport. But I'm gonna tell you, I was like flipping through it. I was like, I scratched out everybody's name, and then I just put a circle. I was like, scratch, 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 Ben. But no, it was awesome. It's a great magazine. It was a great article. I watched the little video that you guys did. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you to our new sponsor and friend of the podcast, New Bioceuticals. New science based nutraceutical supplements engineered to elevate your new mind and new body. Use code Benjamin Smith for 10% off your purchase at newbioceuticals.com. That's code Benjamin Smith for 10% off. Thank you again, New, and now back to the show.
But hey, I just want to kind of be a little bit conscious of like, okay, you have so many lessons and like to teach, but again, hope is a big one. But what were the did you have like habits and strategies to keep you focused every day, like to kind of okay, I got to move forward. I know that you're a bodybuilder, so you probably the fitness and the nutrition aspect was a very good focus point. But what kind of habits and rituals did you create to just keep you in that mindset? Okay, let's move forward.
Um, Affirmations. I believe in affirmations. I believe in positive affirmations every day. Saying something positive to yourself in the mirror every morning, and I think that that works for me. And I try to teach it to my sons. I try to teach it to my students. I believe in just you have to wake up with a positive mindset. I think that was my biggest habit. Always saying something positive. I never. I believe in that. I believe in leaving work at work too. That's my biggest habit too. Like I don't. People find this weird. I don't bring home no papers. I'm not grading nothing when I go home. Um, I'm not. I'm not writing the lesson plans when I go home. I'm not doing none of that. I use all what I use my time at work for work. So anything I got to create and do, I do it while I'm at work. So every teacher has what we call a planning period and things of that nature. So during my planning period, during my that time that I'm not there is no students with me, I'm using that time to create whatever I need to create. And to me, that's been my biggest thing. Is like I think we as society, as people, we when you bring your work home to your life, it messes everything up. And that's just extra added stress, extra added thing you bring it into your home life that you don't need. And so for me, I never do that. And so I think that's one of my big like I said, I don't know if that's a habit or something like that, but it's one of them things that I'm very, very conscious of that I believe you should leave work at work.
Mm.
Um, so let me see what else. Uh, and I believe in just like, I mean, granted, I hate to say it, I think the military just taught me to be routine. Like, I believe in, like, you got to have some type of routine. Like, granted, the routine can deviate sometimes, but I feel like you got to have some type of consistency in your life. When you don't have a routine or some type of consistency in your life, then it's like, things kind of can go all over the place. So having a plan, to me, you gotta have a plan. Like that's another thing to me. It's like having a plan. Like have you can set goals all day, but how do you accomplish these goals
Mm.
without that? So I guess that's how the routine comes into play for me. Like, all right, so I have a plan. I mean, I have a goal. All right, so now let me set a plan. Now with that plan, I need some type of routine in order to stay on that plan in order to get to that goal. So I think those are just all the little things I guess that make me me, as far as accomplishing things in life and how I move forward in life.
Well, you're a real spiritual person, I know. So I can only assume that you start your day with some kind of just chill out and meditation or prayer or something like that,
Um, More or
or
less
do you?
like not meditation. I know my wife she definitely meditates. I'm more, I guess you can call it prayer. I don't say prayer. Just just thanking for the day, thanking for being able to wake up, thankful for my health, thankful for just my kids and everything like that. So, like I said, it's always like some type of this positive affirmations and just kind of
Mm.
just saying today's gonna be a good day. Um, I'm gonna, what I'm saying, I'm gonna inspire at least one student a day. Um, we're gonna Today's gonna be a great day at track practice. My athletes are gonna do well. We're gonna have an injury free day. Um, Anything like that, just to kind of like get my day going, and then from there, it goes from just keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah, that's it's funny because my work is mental health and mental wellness and stuff like that. And I always try to get people to understand it's like, start your day off right. For me, I'm a very spiritual person, so I get up like today. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just spend the first couple hours just chilling out, being thankful, and all this kind of stuff. And people don't understand, like you're saying, you get it on the right foot, it just starts to roll, right? And that
Right,
positivity, right? It's just like, but people are like, so many people are like, "Oh, I don't have time. I got to get out the door." It's like you don't have time not to get your priorities straight, right? Agreed.
right. And I think people say they don't have time. I be like, you have time. You just got you have to you gotta make time for what's important. And if not setting yourself up for the day is important, then to me that's crazy to think. Like you have to make. People always say you make time for the things that you want out of life, and so that to me is 100% true. We all get the same, and I tell my son we all get the same 24 hours. Ain't nobody 24 hours different than anybody else. It's a matter of how you gonna utilize them 24 hours. And so I always tell them, like, you have to prioritize what's important to you. And once you prioritize what's important to you, everything else kind of like you should be able to work through everything else as far as that is considered. So like you said, getting up, like it don't kill you like that extra, like if you even get up 20, 30 minutes earlier than what you normally do,
I
just to
know.
kind of clear your mind and kind of just like put yourself into a positive state, it works to kind of keep the day going. And like, for me, I make time to go to the gym and things like that. I make like so. I always say like, all right, I got my priorities. I know my priorities is to, I gotta go to work. I gotta coach. I gotta get son one, son two, son three to different activities after school. So now I'm like, hey, if my workout time is at 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, that's my workout time. Because to me it's a priority for my physical health to actually stay in the gym and stay doing what I do. Um, yes, I do the bodybuilding and things like that, but to me, my physical overall health is more important than anything.
Mm.
Because you know, most people are like, "You're 41." I was like, it was like, "You don't look like you're that old," and I was like, "I know because I take care of myself."
Okay, so on that note, then talking about habits, and so hope and starting your day off on the right foot. So how do you balance? Because so again, I'm trying to fit it all in here, but you got your pro card as a bodybuilding a fit bodybuilding physique. Is that right?
Yeah,
Physique.
yeah.
Yeah, so I competed in bodybuilding as well when I was younger, but so how do you balance? How do you personally, with all the things with your kids, your school, and everything, balance the nutrition of it and the fitness? Like, where do you fit it all in? Like, how do you do that?
It's hard. Tell you right now, it's so hard. Meal prepping, workouts, and things of that nature. So, I would say one, I got a wife that's very supportive and things like that. So she'll make sure that I got the food. She ain't cooking it though. She does. She'll make sure I got it.
I was just gonna say we're gonna have to edit this out because any woman who listens, they're gonna be like, no. So
So she'll make sure that I have like all my chicken and my ground turkey and things like that, potatoes and rice, and she'll make sure I have all the food. But like I said, she's definitely not cooking
nice.
it. So I'll prep my stuff like on a Sunday and a Wednesday. Like I'm cooking. Like I'll cook like all of my stuff, like, and then I'll start packaging it and I'll have it. So it's always with me. I always tell people the easiest time for me to actually compete and do a prep is like when I'm in like during the school year. And people always like, "Jeff, for real?" I'm like, because I can only take the food that I need to work, and I don't have a whole kitchen full of distractions. So whenever I get ready to do a contest, like I said, it's always better for me to be at work versus the summertime. Because in the summer, like I gotta like, and although I can stay disciplined, it's a lot harder when you just open the cabinet and you go, oh man, we got Oreos. So so but once again, having a supportive family and things of that nature where, hey, and I balance my schedule up like, all right, if I know I need to do cardio at 6 a.m. to kind of, because I got things planned out through the day, and then I'm like, all right, I can lift at this time, I can do cardio at this time. Like it's like as crazy as it sounds, my life is like on a Google Calendar, and I'm being dead serious. Like all everything is listed on a calendar as far as family events, sporting events, meetings, anything that's on that. Like I prioritize. Like okay, the calendar is first. Like so, whatever's listed on that calendar has a priority. Then I'll be like, all right, I'll look and say, all right, my free space is right here. This is the time I can go work out without it interfering with anything. And so that's how I mean my workouts. Like I always tell people, they've they stay consistent, and I got a great coach here at home that he um he stays on top of me. He's the mastermind behind everything that I do. Since we've known each other since 2014, we competed against each other, and he said he saw something in me that I ain't seen in myself. He's like, man, you can literally be a pro. it was like you just suck at posing. And so and he took me under his wing in 2016. The very first time he coached me in 2016 is when I became a pro. And he's been my like he's my like everything as far as when it comes to that aspect. And I love him to death, and we have moments where we can go completely dark and don't talk to each other for months. And we'll like each other's stuff on social media, and that's about as good. But I can text him, I can say anything to him, and he'll be like, "You ready to go?" And I'll be like, "Yep, I'm ready to go." And then we'll get going, and it's crazy like that. His name is Gary, and I wrote a lot about him in my book too, in my book Counted Out, because I'm so grateful for him for just being the person that he is, and as far as just the the type of coach he is, he's very no nonsense towards me. He'd be like, and he don't pull no punches, and I love him for that.
That's awesome. Hey, so I'm older than you, but I was really into bodybuilding in the 80s. And so do you know Lee Haney?
Yes,
Lee
that's my
Haney?
that's one of my biggest idols.
Me too, but I got to tell you, man, like as soon as when I started listening to your interviews and things like that, I even told Shar this morning, I was like, man, Collier reminds me so much of Lee Haney, balancing the family and the mindset and this and that. So I think to me, Lee Haney has always been one of my biggest heroes and inspirations. And you actually remind me of Lee Haney, and just with the way you balance it all, with the
Yeah,
spirituality and the family and stuff.
it's crazy that you brought him up because like his poster used to be, but way when I before I even thought about anything dealing with bodybuilding, and like he had a poster, and they had like a couple of his posters, him, Arnold, and some other guys in my high school gym when I was a kid. But I for some reason I hadn't like I wasn't into bodybuilding until later, way later on in my life, as far as competing and things like that. But I used to see his, I'm like, man, I want to be like him. I'm like, even though I was a football player, a wrestler, I'm like, that
Yeah.
guy. I'm like, that epitome of what the human body should look
Oh,
like. So, I,
did you have the one where you're standing in New York just in the jeans and just
yeah.
standing there? That was amazing, right?
So I thought Lee Haney was just like everything. And it was crazy because people were like, oh, you can be built like him. And but and I didn't know nothing about him until later on in life, as far as like, as you mentioned, his life and things of that nature. But I just like growing up as a kid, for some reason, I idolized him. And then as I got older and I got into this thing, I really respected him, as far as just his accomplishments and things like that. And they call that thing like the golden era of bodybuilding. And that's like, to me, my favorite like era before they just
Yeah,
got dumb big.
me
Um,
too.
but it like the balance, just the overall, just his overall sculpture of his body, to me was just like
Yeah.
that was what I to me was a perfect blend
Well,
of sport.
oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I fell in love with bodybuilding when I was 15 in 1986, and that was his second year or third year winning the Mr. Olympia. And so I've always been a fan of him, but I was always a fan of him as a bodybuilder. I understood I understood his life, but as I got older, I realized like all those qualities that you have about balancing. It's one thing to be a great athlete. It's a whole nother thing to balance being a great athlete and being a father and being a husband and being a role model and all these things that you bring to the table that I've learned to love so much about Lee Haney and respect so much about him. I mean that's something special. That's something that like Lee Haney said, there's only one Lee Haney in a lifetime, and I think there might be only one Corwyn as well in a lifetime. Because that's pretty amazing what you guys, both you guys do on the same level. I think.
Yeah, and what people don't realize is it's a very selfish sport. To me, bodybuilding is one of the most selfish sports out there, because you have to be so focused on you. And and like when I like the more and more I kind of look back and I started looking, I'm like, I see why most of these guys like either they single or they might have a girlfriend. Most of them probably got one kid, if that, or no kid, like because you have to be so. in tune with yourself and so just committed to yourself. Like when you're doing it, because it's about my eating schedule, it's about my workout schedule, and it's about getting ready for this. I gotta get to this contest. I gotta do cardio. I gotta like it's so much that goes into it that and I mean, granted, there are times like towards like the end of my prep and when I'm getting like I be like my wife, like she knows that I'm like, look, it's crunch time now. Like it's the last 4 or 5 weeks. Like I gotta like, what I'm saying, this is like I need you to handle the majority of whatever my sons are gotta do so I can really, what I'm saying, bring this all together. So it's a like I said, it's a when you're just talking about balance and things like that, because it's definitely one of to me it's a very selfish sport.
Well, like I say, I mean, if you can find the balance of it, I just wanted to tell a really quick story because I was a bodybuilder, but I was also a boxer. And I remember as a bodybuilder, I'd be like, okay, I gotta eat, I got I gotta eat, and I gotta get my sleep, and I gotta do this and that. But the training was, it was hard, but it wasn't. As a boxer, I'd be running and I'd be training so hard in the boxing gym. But when I wasn't boxing, I was eating pizza and drinking at the, because I was a nightclub bout. It was like totally like the training as a boxer was like, as you know, track probably was way harder than the bodybuilding, but the lifestyle of bodybuilding is like that's what gets you, like the
Yeah,
eating, the sleep. I got to do all the different parts of it, right?
yeah. It's a lot that goes into it. And most people don't realize that it's a lot. And like you said,
A
it's
lot.
you got to be on point with everything in order for your body to just to do what it needs to do in order to get to where you can be quote unquote stage ready. And although people be like, oh man, you look good, you be like, nah, this ain't it, this ain't it. Like over ready, this is like I gotta be better. And so like I said,
uh,
like, it's a crazy type sport, and it's I mean, but I love the journey of it. I love doing it. I mean, I took the last year off to focus strictly on my son because my son is a senior. He's about to graduate this year. So my, as we say, priorities. My priority is him. He is my
nice.
priority. Seeing him graduate, and he is a track athlete like me, and we're in the process of his recruiting and trying to finish out his signing and things like that. So like I told you, the selfishness of the sport, I just felt like I had to step away from it and not like I've had my time in the sun, and now it's about him, and it's all and like I said, he is the priority. He is the most important thing to me right now because he's about to be the first one of my boys to walk that stage and go into this next phase of his life. So I can always return to the stage at a given point in time in my life. So like I said, and we've been kind of like I said, we've been talking about these priorities, and balance. That is where I'm at right now. So,
Nice.
and that's why I love my coach because he's very understandable. It's like he knows like I'm a big family person.
Nice, nice. Well, I know because as you said, everything's on the schedule, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But I just want to ask you just a couple more questions. I wanted to make sure that everybody knew where they could get your book. I wanted to make sure that, yeah, I mean, here's one more question I really want to make sure I ask because we're talking about the fitness and balancing it in. You're a teacher.
Mhm.
What advice would you give to kids? Because I mean, a lot of kids they're struggling to make it eat properly and do all those things. What advice would you give to these kids who are going to school and this and that to start moving in that direction of health mindset, but also a healthy body, eating, all that kind of stuff?
I always tell my students like, and it's in the Men's Health magazine. I always tell them you got one mind, one body, and one lifetime. What you do with the first two overall makes the last one. So what you do with your mind and what you do with your body creates your entire lifetime. And you pollute your mind with just negativity and things like that, and you pollute your body with just junk food and unhealthy stuff, you're gonna create a lifetime of just problems. But as long as you feeding yourself positive things, I always tell them, what I'm saying, read. I always tell my students, read. I don't care if it's reading on your phone, a book on your phone. I always tell them, go out and seek more, learn more. You know, I I can only give you the basics as a teacher. That's like I always tell them. I tell my students all the time. There's a difference between education and knowledge. You get an education in school. Knowledge is what you go and seek. And so I always tell them that's like I give you the smaller bit. Go out there and figure out the rest because ain't nobody gonna tell you the rest. And then I
Mm.
always tell them, I'm like, eating is I'm like, yes, I love wings, quesadillas, pizza. I like cookies. I like all that
Yeah.
stuff. All that, 'cause it tastes good. I'm like, but as that, being because I teach in a predominantly urban school, predominantly black school. I said we are predisposed to certain things. I'm like we predisposed to diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. I said so. Why keep the trend going? Like find a way. I'm like find a way to put healthy things into your body. There's nothing wrong with eating vegetables and fruits and things of that nature. Finding lean meats and things like that. Like it's nothing wrong with that. I always try to tell them like, like create good habits now. I'm like, instead of going to get that bag of chips, go get like go get a trail mix. I'm like, that's a better option. It's a better choice. So I always try to encourage them, and I think them seeing me as a bodybuilder and slash teacher is like because they'll see me in the middle of class break out a meal and start eating, and
Mhm.
while I'm which has been done numerous times. I'll be like, hold up, I gotta eat. Like it's about 10 o'clock. So they have all seen me do it throughout my teaching career, and so they understand that. And me being a coach and track and things like that, I definitely encourage my athletes. I always say, hey, how you feel your body is how you perform. I'm like, and so I know we use this old school term from like back in the day. Would you put regular gas in a Ferrari? No, you're gonna put premium gas in it. Just like so, why would you fuel your body with junk and think that it's gonna perform at a high level? So I always tell my track athletes like that. I'm like, okay, you eat them flaming hot chips, and you gonna have a flaming hot performance. Not I like you are, but you won't be on the level that you think you're gonna be in. But I'm like,
Mm.
granola, have a turkey sandwich and an apple or something like that. I'm like, that's putting something better into your body that is gonna help you excel to the next level. So I mean, I definitely promote healthy mind, and healthy eating habits as a teacher and as a coach. To me, that's important because it's just like I said, I want kids to understand that the better you take care of your body, the longer life that you can have. And like I said, most people don't believe me that I'm the age that I am. Hell, even my students don't even believe I'm the age that I am. When I tell them, I'm like, I've been out of school for 23 years. They're like, really? At all? I'm like,
Uh,
yeah. It's a matter like I drink a lot of water and I eat healthy. So those are the
nice.
looking young.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow, I had so much fun talking with you. So I want to make sure again that people know where to go to get your book. And also, before we end, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know that you're on the schedule. But is there anything else that you want to that you really want to get off your mind before we end this?
Um, well, my book you can get is called off my website. It's called CollierEliteCC.com. Called CollierEliteCC.com. You order it off there. I sign every book that people purchase. So it's not like you just gonna get you pay for the book and I ship it to you. No, I actually take the time to sign it, put some type of message in there to any and everybody. I don't whether I know you personally or you just someone who just randomly ordered a book. I'm gonna at least say something positive to you. And the only other thing I want to say is just that um, what I always tell people is don't live your life in a box. Don't let people define you and tell you that you can only be this. You can be whatever you want to be. Be the greatest version of yourself. Um, achieve as much as you want in life, and success is based on happiness. It ain't based on money. It ain't based on anything else. Success is based on happiness. create the happiest life you possibly can create, and you have been successful. And to me, that is, I feel like once I leave this place, um, I have been successful. I don't care about, anything else. I have created a life of positivity for people, and I feel successful. I may never be the richest, and I may not anything else, but I am happy and I'm successful. So those are the things.
Well, as I said, I'm a real fan. I'm you. I just find you just to be amazing, and it was really fun to talk with you, and I really look forward to continuing our connection in one way or another. Um, yeah, so thanks a lot, so much for your time, and yeah, I don't know, have a
I appreciate you reaching out to me. I'm glad we was able to connect. It's been fun. It's been real. I'm pretty sure we will definitely stay connected. So this, like I said, it's been a great journey throughout this whole process, and and I'm happy to know that you were a part of it, and so on. Along with so many other guys that I may never have the opportunity to talk to. I'm glad that you were one of the guys in the top 10. So it's pretty dope to kind of know that we was able to kind of make this connection. As I got to know Brad, I got to know Felipe. I don't know if I'll ever talk to the other guys who were in that the top spots, but I'm elated that once again that we were able to connect, and it's been awesome.
nice. Yeah. Well, hey, I just want to end on this note, because you're a spiritual person and you have faith and all that stuff. I know I'm just asking you, pray to you to pray for me, pray for my Seahawks 49ers today, man.
Oh yeah. I got some FanDuel parlays on that.
Oh man, me and my wife have just been just like, oh man, today's the day. So pray, brother.
Trust me. I got some I'm hoping the Seahawks upset the 49ers. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm definitely on that bandwagon. So
Right on, man. Cool. Well, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for your time. And I'll reach out to you whenever.
all right, sounds awesome. You gotta enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, brother.
Thank you all so much for joining us, as always. We love hearing from you, so if you have comments, questions about the episode, topics you want us to cover, or anything else, you can find us on Instagram as Loving Goliath, on Facebook as the Goliath Foundation. You can email us at lovinggoliath@gmail.com, or you can find out more information about the Goliath Foundation at thegoliathfoundation.com. Hey, did you know that 36% of our listeners tune in through Apple Podcasts? If that's you and you liked what you heard today, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Thank you again, and we'll catch you next time.